Okay.
Okay. You know, hey, can you put that photograph on again?
Sure.
I was just
Oh, well. I
uh
don't.
yeah, let's see.
Okay.
Jay Sandwich, Betty's just going to put this photograph on because I have something to say about this. Welcome to the late night chat, everybody. But I once asked Darwin Shaw how he came down on free will and predestination. And he said, well, what do you think? So I came up with various expressions. And the thing that he signed off on was spontaneous predestination. Now, what does that mean? Spontaneous predestination. That love it was here before creation. The love in us was here before creation, and the drama, the world drama, this predestined world drama, is like a black and white film. And with love, we can put in the colors, fill in the colors of this black and white film. The love in us, so that we're all gathered together here on the screen, that's already predestined. But this could be a very drab evening, or it could be, if we put love into it, we create it in Technicolor. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's
That what Baba's doing, putting love into it
yeah,
here?
he's putting the colors into it is love that puts in that fills in the colors.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's just black and white.
very good.
Okay, so
Okay.
Jay Sema, if he can put up that, and let's see, how about um, how about Rich? You have a kind of a clear enough screen to read that?
Yes, sir. Right. Late night chat, April 27th. Transformative moments with Baba. Dear folks of Baba, for many of us, the most transformative moment was the moment we came to Baba. And the description of this moment is often most touching. However, there are also many other pivotal and instructive moments in our life with Baba that are also invaluable to share. They take many forms, sudden insights, flashes of intuition that have served course corrections as course corrections to how we live our life. Inner experiences of dreams that have opened a door to a deeper relationship with Baba, a moment in which we were given a fleeting glimpse of the soul. We may have received from Baba an unfailing way to access his presence in the course of our day. There are also exchanges with one of the mandali or someone in our daily life that have provided guidance at a critical time. For some of us, there have been moments in the tomb or in Baba's bedroom at the Myrtle Beach Center in which something has communicated by him that touched us deeply. Not all transformative moments need necessarily be positive on the surface. Sometimes realizing how selfish we've been may be an invaluable turning point in our lives. We may have put too much emphasis on work, for example, that caused us to not give enough attention to a loved one and we lose them. We may have bottomed out on alcohol, which drove us to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting that began a real change in our lives. You may have suddenly felt within to turn away from a self centered habit of being. Baba has said a new line in the divine picture is sketched only when some individual takes life forcefully in his hands, breaks up the old patterns, and insists on creating something new by his own inner vision. What moments in your life have you found to be transforming? What were the circumstances and events leading up to these moments? How have these changes played out in your life? Did they create an instant change and have the results unfolded over time? We will all definitely benefit from hearing your awakening moments. When pure love is first perceived as a gift from the master, it becomes lodged in the consciousness of the aspirant like a seed in favorable soil. And in the course of time, the seeds develops into a plant and then into a full-grown tree. Mayor Baba, in his love, Jeff. Thank you. J. Bob.
I hope that was understandable. And that topic came from Gabriella last time, and I tried to unfold it a little bit, unpack it a little bit. Does anybody have some moment or moments that they would feel like sharing that were really helpful in changing the course of your life? Or it could even be a smaller thing that was part of your, your approach to Baba. Anything? Oh,
I'm going to jump in and just ask if everybody who's not talking can look and see if you're muted. If not, please mute. Thank you.
Ron?
Yeah, I like this topic. I have actually talked about this in quite a few of these chats. I've told stories of these kinds of things occurring, and the beloved moments with the beloved. So I'll try not to repeat the ones that I already have done, at least not now. I will later, some other meeting. But a couple of things come to mind. There seem to be little things, but at some point, probably, maybe the 80s, 90s, I don't know, 80s, I think, when I was working in an office doing what I do now, with other people. Mainly now it's just myself and my wife, Lisa, in this office. And so I guess some of my weaknesses were I didn't take efforts to make others happy. At least I didn't think I was doing that. I figured that really wasn't my job. But then there are these things that Baba said to make people happy. That's how you become happy yourself. And I definitely wanted to do that. So I guess I must have unconsciously asked Baba to show me how to do that. And he gave me a couple of brilliant ideas. To some of you, it won't be that brilliant because you probably have been doing it long before I ever took it up myself after Baba clued me in. So one of them took place. I was leaving my office and I was walking by one of the ladies, young woman that worked there, and she had this particularly attractive sweater on that day, and I was really appreciating how beautiful it was. But it wasn't my habit, wasn't my practice to say anything like that, to give a compliment. I just didn't do that very often, or if I ever did it at all, I'm not really even sure. But here's what happened. As I was walking by, I definitely had the thought that that's a beautiful sweater, but I kept walking. I didn't comment. I just said goodbye to her as I left. When I got out the door, Baba said, "Ron, go back in and tell her that's a beautiful sweater." And I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to pull that one off? That's going to be weird, But he said, if you don't, you better do this. Yeah, I want you to see what happens. This is an experiment. So I walked back. I came back in the door. I walked up to her and I said, "Jeanette, that's a beautiful sweater you've got on today. I just wanted to let you know." And she smiled and looked happy. And I left. And so that was the first of work developing that habit. It's a simple thing, and I'm sure a lot of you have been doing it your whole life. But some people, have to learn it in adult life. Anyhow, that's one of them. And then the other one was that I was very bad at remembering people's names. And so I hardly ever referred to people by their name. And somehow Baba clued me in. He said, you know, Ron, people like to have you refer to them by their name. Say their name. They like it. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's another thing that I have no practice in. How am I going to pull this off? You know? And so I said, Baba, what am I going to do? All right. He said, now, when you call up this particular client, there's this one guy who I talked to when I would go into their office, I would talk to him. He was friendly, but when I would call in, he was a little cold. He didn't respond to my being there on the phone. So Baba says to me, be sure to say his name. I remembered his name was Victor. I made a point. So when I called up, I said, oh, hi, Victor. And the guy just lit up. I mean, he was so much friendlier. It was so obvious. And so Baba just gave me these two little hints, these two little tools that I could spend the rest of my life practicing, and it actually truly making other people a little bit happier. So that's what I wanted to share today.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ronnie.
Hey, Ron, quick question. Does the conversation happen in dreams or waking states or journaling with him? If I missed that, I apologize.
It just happens in my mind, in my heart, whatever, it's just like my conscience, that small, quiet voice of authority, that kind of thing. Anyhow, that's the way I feel it is.
You know, what's interesting on that is Upasni Maharaj said that you can't love anything until you know its name. And it's very interesting. I mean, if I don't know somebody's name and I've heard it, but I don't remember it, I feel I have to kind of hold back a little bit, but when I know someone's name, it opens a 4-lane highway toward them, so to speak. So there's real truth to that, Ronnie. That's great.
Martha.
Good story, Ron. Thank you. So I have two small things that were very large in my life. Probably 25 years ago, I tend to do relationships like totally in, and it takes me years to get over them. Luckily, I've only had a few true deep ones. And this person I was very much in love with left me for someone else, disappeared, ghosted me. And it took me years and years and years. And my mind would not stop thinking about him over and over and over. And I was begging Baba, pleading with Baba, praying to Baba, doing rituals, everything possible, laying it at his feet every night. And then one night I went to bed and I was thinking about it and I was crying, and then I stopped crying and I started to fall asleep, and then I got this message from Baba. Baba told me that when we pass over to the other realm, there's only love between all of us souls. There's not the personality, the story. It's all just pure love. So when we choose where we want to come back into this life, we're choosing from pure love. So any soul that wants to come into this life with me comes from love, and then we see what we need to work out. So if that person hurt me, he came from love and he said, I love you so much, I'm going to play this role to hurt you, to rip your heart out, to tear it apart, because I love you. And I'm going to play that role. And so Baba gave me that idea, and I go, oh my God, that changes everything. And ever since then, I believe that with all of my complete soul, that that's true. And it changed my outlook on everyone's relationship with me as far as coming from love. whether they hold a piece that will stimulate some kind of pain so I can grow. So that was a very powerful lesson that really changed my life. And the other thing that totally
Incredible. Really,
totally changed my life. Yeah, that was really quite a beautiful lesson. And I really enjoy sharing it because it may set part of you free. I mean, who hasn't had a broken heart at least once in their life, you know? And the other one is a very short dream that I shared, but I want to share it because it completely changed my life. In the dream, I'm in a huge room full of people, probably in India, and there's a darshan. Everyone's standing, tons of people, and I'm kind of being crushed about. And Baba's in the middle at a table in the chair. And then the next part of the dream, I'm sitting in a chair right next to Baba. And Baba is blessing malas and blessing people's heads and blessing, flowers and blessing fruit and giving it to people. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh my God, I don't have anything for Baba to bless. And I'm thinking, well, I don't even have my purse, nothing. I don't have anything. And I think, oh, I have this ring. Oh, I have this ring. I'll have Baba bless this ring. That means so much to me. And right then, everything got quiet and Baba turned to me and he said, I've touched you and you're mine. And that was the message, that there was nothing else that needed to be touched. Baba touched me and I was his.
Oh,
and that was the greatest gift probably that I would get my whole life, was in that dream.
wow.
Thank you.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. God.
Paula.
What a beloved.
What a beloved. Yep.
Hi, Jay Baba, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I came a little late. I got in about 5 minutes late, so I'm really sorry. And I didn't hear the whole reading. So I'm just going to jump in because it sounds like life-altering things that touched your life and
Yeah.
changed things for you. I don't, is that kind of a summary
Yeah.
of it?
The transformative moments with Baba.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is, this has been quite a week. We lost Debbie Nordine, and it's just, it's about, for me, I think that, well, historically in my life, it's been loss. It's been great loss. When I was 9, my dad died, and that was, life changing. And then losing people and thinking that, I once heard a quote by the Buddha that said, and you think you have time. And it's just like, it just is, it was a beautiful plaque in a gift store. And it said, and you think you have time. And I just want to say that, it's like sometimes I feel like I move through life and don't get that that it's all time limited, that that there's not endless time to connect with people. And as far as Debbie, I talked to her a few weeks ago, I believe, and but I didn't really get to say goodbye. And I think of a poem. I was a hospice nurse for a lot of my life, and I remember this one poem in the early days of hospice in the 80s when I first became a hospice nurse, and it says something like, "Excuse me, but there are stars missing. What I guided my life by, and I feel like that about certain people that go, that are incredible teachers to me. And Debbie was a teacher of such compassion, such love, such surrender. And I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like I sometimes I don't grasp that, how how limited our lives are. We have these moments, and I just hope that I can, in this life, just really be with the people that I'm with at the moment, and really just appreciate and tell them how much and how they've touched my life. And of course, as we're getting older, it could happen to any one of us at any moment. And I'm just I'm just so touched by what people teach us in our life. But with Debbie, it was just around, she used to tell me little stories about how, what Baba was teaching her, and I don't know, I just feel so blessed in this life by the people who my path has crossed with. So anyway, it's about those edges of life and death, and that are very, and then I chose in this life, I was guided towards working with end of life care a lot of my life. And I've learned so much through all that. Anyway, I'm not making a lot of sense here. I'm rambling on, and I'm sorry if I do that sometimes. But I feel very pensive and just so grateful for the people that have passed, that I've had contacts with in this life. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. I unfortunately got a phone call, and I'm at work, so I was pulled away. But I'll pick it up on the recording. Okay.
Dennis?
Denise?
Okay, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple of 2.5 months of good health, and March 13th, I all of a sudden, well, I I always thought it was just my kidney was my problem, but I had a heart attack, and I had been able to drive to get my taxes done that morning, and by that afternoon I was in such pain. I'm like, oh, this is 911 time. So I spent a couple of weeks in the hospital, and I had that feeling that, Baba, can I go this time, please? Because I'm really ready. And my daughter brought a picture of Baba to put on the shelf in my hospital room. And this kind of fits in with a theme that we had just a little while back about approaching people about Baba. Well, nurses came in, and a lot of them asked about Baba's picture. And a couple of them were from India, and one said, oh, I know who that is. And another one said, yeah, I know, my dad knows him. And I'm like, okay, so Baba doesn't want me to go yet because this is my job right now. So anyway, it wasn't that dramatic, but it's just something that's kind of on my mind recently. So I thought I would share.
Oh, thank you, Denise. That's very darling. You can't quite get out the door yet.
Not yet.
Jennifer?
Hey, everybody. I'm enjoying this. I haven't had any big transformative moments, but or that I can think of right now. But some little things happen from time to time. And what I really focus on trying to do is, like somebody else said, like listen to that voice, go back and say, that sweater looks great, like Ron was talking about. So one day, I just had recently, this guy from India sent me a message, and he said he wanted me to do this podcast. And it's it's sort of a spiritual podcasty kind of thing. And I was like, I just got the hit, like, okay, do it. So it was early in the morning. And as I was trying to figure out where to do it at my house, I have Baba's picture. I'm in my dining room tonight, and I have Baba's picture in my dining room. But I was getting kind of set up in my living room. And Baba said, put my picture behind you, like so the camera would be able to see it. It was a podcast, but it was like a YouTube thing. And so it was sitting there behind me. And I always try to slip a little Baba saying or something in things just because it's sort of fun, right? So we did that, and that was all good. And then later on, I looked on YouTube, kind of see like, oh, did very many people see it? How did it turn out? And I want to read this to you guys because it was so cool, because sometimes the transformation and the, our job, I think, is like you all said, some people have been talking about, to hit the heart of other people. So this woman put this text message, comment up, and it says, my sister was watching your video when her mother-in-law, and she said she only understands Telugu language, which I'm assuming is a language spoken in India, heard the words Meher Baba. When my sister translated that part about him, because I think I said something, I can't remember, I guess I said something about him, she got overwhelmed by emotion and shared a memory long cherished in her heart. Meher Baba had once visited their home, where they still live, and blessed the entire neighborhood. Time folded upon itself, a video in an unfamiliar language, a name uttered in passing, and suddenly the past reached out to touch the present. Though we live in different parts of the world and speak different tongues, we're all bound by the same endless love of the divine.
Beautiful.
Isn't that so cool?
Yeah.
I thought that
Wow.
was so interesting. So, it's kind of goes back to what Ron was talking about, when you hear that little voice, or sometimes it's the big booming voice, right? And it tells you to do something. And I pay attention to that push, the one you can't ignore. And it can be something as simple as making their day, saying something about a sweater, or putting a picture in a particular spot for something. So yeah, and that was kind of transformational for me too, because it really made me super emotional. I don't know the person who, this had who had the memory, but I suddenly felt connected. And it was like, thank you, Baba. It's a big, beautiful world, like she said. So thanks.
Wow. Thank you, Jennifer. Lovely. Yeah.
Rich.
Well, the way I understand Jeff's message for this week is something that I know every single person here has been through one way or another. It's often my experience that people don't really jump to confess how they've changed, what's affected them, what the intimacy of their relationship with Baba is. I'm, on the other hand, I've often jumped to the opportunity to express that. And because that's all I am. There is nothing else to me. There is no glorious achievement roster, a lineage of anything, either through history or through my present. There's just really right now is all I got going. And I'm a little more somber than I've been because I've been going through this lower lumbar fusion surgery healing, but it's isolated me in a way that I'm not used to. I can't even go out in my yard and dig up a weed because I got to be careful. But the thing that's probably most affected me in my most recent life in the body started with these meetings with Jeff on Sunday nights. But it's gotten bigger than that. With many people here, I do the 9 Eastern Standard Time arti, and it can be flagrantly boring once in a while, not always, usually it's not, or it can be warm, like a a fireplace fire in a log cabin in a movie on a winter's night where you just can't get enough of that Baba heat. Just can't. You wish you had more and more and more. We have a lot of that there. But what's happened over time is I've become much more aware of the presence of Mayor Baba as each one of the people that show up. Kind of doesn't matter in a way of what our individual uniqueness is about. That's important because we were born as a little electron and we're just moving along the path, right? But the relationship with Baba is way different than anything that most people can claim to in life because of this inner relationship. And I've had numerous experiences of transformative moments, several in the center. Sometimes just listening, I'll never forget hearing a few of Marta's stories about her transformational moments and many others too. Anyway, that's about all I had to say, but I think that's the point of just question is, how does this bring you in to the moment right now with Baba? So I want to say it again, repeat, these arty things for me have been expanding into a family which I wasn't really aware of. And it's pretty remarkable stuff. I think Jeff is so familiar with it because he lives in it. He's in the Baba Pond, he's in the Baba Pond all the time. I'm well, anyway, thank you. That's enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Very touching, Rich. And I think we all feel the same. This is we inherit a family that, 5 years ago we never knew. It's yeah.
Raz,
What is it we're sharing about a special moment with Baba or something like that? What is it? Run that by again, please.
Well, transformative moments with Baba.
Well, I had one just a little while, a few moments ago, when Denise shared her past week or two with us, what she's experienced, her events in her life. Now, I don't know Denise, or many of you, I'm not very well acquainted with. But what I'd like to share, it's sort of like a train running by. And that was when I first came to Baba, which was 1968. Then I went to the Mayor Spiritual Center. And around Christmas time, mind you. And about that same time, Baba was, their invitation was out, and people were getting tickets to go for Baba's darshan at Guru Prasad in Pune, starting off in the coming April. And I was living with my parents at the time, working a job, living with my parents, and eventually went back home after visiting the center to my parents' place. I went from there to in the Washington, D.C. area to Myrtle Beach, then rendezvoused with old friends in Florida, some of whom became are Baba lovers, and went to Texas, where I'd lived and came from, and then back to Washington, back to the center, and then back home to my work and living with my family, who allowed me to not pay rent or anything, so I could save every penny I earned to go to darshan in April. And one night I was asleep in bed, and opposite, while looking up over a closet, had a poster of Baba, "You and I are not we but one." And every night going to bed, I'd look at Baba in that picture and say, I don't really know this man. And yet I'm going there, I'm going to meet him. What will it be like? And there in reasoning, I found it hard to justify all that I was giving but Mayor Baba credit for. And yet the train was running and it had me, I was caught up in the tailwinds of it and holding on. So one of these nights I awakened I had a dream, really kind of a vision, not very inspiring either. There, I just saw a rainy day pavement and a pothole, a pavement that was deteriorated, like an old road, an old paved road. And there was a hollowed out place in that pavement. And there was a newspaper. And the newspaper was getting wet and getting wetter, yet the wind was still there was a breeze blowing the pages back and forth. And my attention became riveted on trying to see what was on that newspaper. And then at one point, the wind allowed the pages to lay open, and there in not any kind of noteworthy print or thing, it just said, Meher Baba throws 2 mules in the water. And
Say that, Ralph, was it Meher Baba throws what? Two what?
2 mules, mules in the water.
Okay.
Throws 2 mules in the water. And I said, okay, that's ridiculous. And that was my feeling, was don't pay too much attention to that. I was reading Baba's books, God Man, Avatar, Wayfarers, Stay with God. I remember I had those books, but Everything the Nothing and Beams. I had those, I think. So I said, just don't pay too much attention. Don't worry about that. Then I got a phone call came the next day after waking, about mid-morning, phone call. Was my good friend who I'd been going to school with, but I dropped out of college to find Baba. And my good friend Chris Barker's older sister on the phone. She said, Ralph, I've got here an article from the UPI or AP, or Associated Press or United Press here. A short article. It says, Meher Baba, in the newspaper, Ralph, says Meher Baba dies in a cave in India after so many years of silence, something like that. Dies in a cave in India. I said, oh no. I said, what is that? I said, Meher Baba's not in a cave. He's not anything like that. And he hasn't died. Well, I don't know. It wore on my mind. And I called the center and got Kitty. Kitty answered the phone. Baba had passed away. They had gotten the telegram. Baba had dropped his body. She said, yes, that's true. Baba has dropped his body. I told her about that article. We didn't dwell on it. Then just a couple of nights ago, Lenita, who volunteers at the center, our friend Lenita, was shared with us that old friend Dennis McCabe, has joined Baba very unexpectedly and very suddenly. She didn't have a lot of details, but I think it happened at the hospital or in the clinic where he had a day just in and out appointment to have some kind of test run for, I heard the word
Kidney stones.
kidney stones.
Yeah.
And he passed during that examination. Dennis suddenly, that Lenita, do you know, Jeff, can you share more with us?
Well, yeah, I mean, the email I got said that his heart stopped, and they were not able. They tried to revive him. They revived him for a little bit, but then his heart stopped again, and that was the end of him. Yeah.
So I was thinking, Dennis was a worker, but quiet, steady worker. I haven't been to the center in years, but I think it was one of my last visits. Somehow I'd taken with me a bunch of baseballs. And it was the day I left, the day I was leaving the center, I was taking things from the room. I stayed in one of those rooms in the Green Cottage. And I was taking my belongings to the car little by little. And the last thing I was going to had were this bucket of baseballs. And I went back to the room to get those baseballs and the last few other things, and the baseballs were missing. I said, where are my baseballs? I started walking back to the outside, and I saw Dennis. I said, Dennis, I had a bucket of baseballs in here. You know anything about it? He said, oh, Ralph, I thought you were out of there. I thought you were gone. I saw those balls and I thought you must have left them. So I put them with the things for Happy Club. I said, okay, that's a good place. Let it be. Thank you.
Yeah.
But
Hey, Ralph, just
yeah.
a second. I think you got a little bit off topic here.
No, we're coming back. The mule
Okay.
is in the water. So Lenita was telling how for years on end, Dennis has played a role in, showing this Friday and Saturday meetings. Is that right, Jeff?
Right. Yeah.
With his companion, his wife.
Yep.
And I thought, well, mule in the water. Dennis was a real mule. And for Baba, a workhorse. And I thought, and it was a transformative moment in me to hear that he was no longer physically in his role that we were so well acquainted with.
Wow.
And I just thought, if anyone wants to share anything about Dennis, that wouldn't hurt anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, at this point, we know very little about the whole thing.
I see.
But yeah. So, and looking at you on the screen, makes me think that I need reading glasses, but anyway.
Can't help, it's the camera. I guess I need a new camera. Yeah.
Okay, let's go on.
Robert.
Hey everybody, Jay Baba. Some of you know in the early 70s I met an alcohol and drug program director whose name was Hugh McClanahan. Some of you know he was a Baba lover.
Yeah.
And I remember being impacted seeing Baba on his desk. And I asked, who is that? And I was just struck by him. And I didn't stay focused on Baba consciously after that, but my life started to shift at that point. Started doing less drugs, started doing my artwork. I started going to school, getting, raising my grades up. And it definitely impacted my life. Now I wanted to take this, many years forward. So I did do better. But I periodically was still very much involved with drugs and alcohol for a good many years. And then I had an experience where Baba wanted to give me a little bit of pain to wake me up. I was starting writing poetry in the 90s, and it was good poetry, I think, and I've shared some of it in RT, and a lot of people love it. But I was still struggling with drugs and alcohol, and I had a poem that I wanted to read to make it. It was at a event where there was going to be children there and so forth, and I wanted to make a good impression and all that sort of thing. But I got rip-roaring drunk, and I was called a drunk by the kids, and that pain that I felt, that here I wanted to be a role model, and I was now not a role model but a disgrace. That pain impacted me so much. It's been 25 years this July, but I haven't touched a drop of alcohol since. So that was a very impactful transformational experience. And I know I've heard the co-founder of AA say that pain is the touchstone of spiritual growth. And sometimes that's what we need. That's what I needed to make a shift in my life. And now I've got some pieces that I've written, plays, and a children's book that I'm trying to work on introducing, and it's related to social media addiction and smartphone addiction that I'm working on bringing them into schools right now, so I can be a role model that I always wanted to be, and have an impact on children as I was impacted on when I was a child by I was a young teenager when I was with Hugh McClanahan. So anyway, that's my transformational story that I have. So
Yeah, beautiful. Like I say, sometimes it's through a negative experience that turns our life around.
yeah.
You know?
Baba
Thank you,
does,
Robert.
Baba does what he does. Jay Baba.
Shah.
Hi. Oops, sorry. Yeah. I just want to say, actually, this forum and the RT forum, for me, have been very transforming, because you all, time and time again, have been very, very patient with me. And when I brought something up that was uncomfortable, I wasn't really sure how I would be received at the following RT. But honestly, I would have to say that, generally speaking, I was always received really well. And I think the love that I experienced through each one that showed me love and patience was really an amazing example of love. So I want to thank everybody for that, and just restate my appreciation for something that was so real that I'll never forget it. And in the transforming sense, it was beyond my expectation. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Shah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're trying out here.
Tony.
Yes, Jay Baba. I had one thing that came to mind to share, but before that, after Pam's share, just want to say a little bit about Debbie Nordine. It was a shock, certainly a shock, getting the news that she'd passed, and mainly because I didn't carry around consciously the closeness of the connection I'd felt with her since we met when she first showed up at Baba House in New York. And I don't know even what her connection was with Baba then or not. But apparently we had a conversation, and she was asking me something about Baba's name and why did it matter or something, or did it matter if, and I don't remember the conversation really well, but what I said to her was it matters because it's his name. And every time I would run into her after that, sometimes even if it was years later, she would share with everyone there how I had said that to her, that it's his name, that's why it matters, and that it had such an effect on her. When she first came, she was, we went to see her. She was performing at the CBGB's in the village, the punk place. And we went down to see her. And then we got to see the 3D Jones, the Jones sisters. And, but I guess what dawned on me really strongly today is, you know, I do astrology, and Debbie was a Scorpio, and Peter's a Scorpio, and there's something very similar in both of them, that they have this quality associated with Scorpio of intensity, of focus and intensity. And what I became aware of over the years was that her connection with Baba, silent, unspoken, not through outward show of any kind, the passionate intensity of her commitment, her personal relation with Baba was just breathtaking. And my mind didn't register it so much, but my heart could not miss it. And then at some point when she and Peter got together, it just like went exponential. And I felt for both of them. I had met Peter, I'd met him, but I got to know him my first trip alone without that group in 82, February of 82. And we talked about everything, all sorts of Baba things. We had a lot of long conversations. But the thing about Peter that always struck me was that same intensity, except he had spent a lot of time with Padre. And when I was first starting with music, you know, I wanted to kind of like get the talent, get what the Beatles had through osmosis, to just kind of absorbing it, you know. And Baba talks about the discourses, someone who's a big fan of Napoleon, and he reads all the books about Napoleon, and he thinks about Napoleon every day, tends to become like Napoleon. And Peter had so much of Padre in him, and to this day I see so much and I feel so much of Padre in Peter. But it's that intense, you know, it was kind of like this osmosis. And the two of them together just seemed like an astounding, like exponential expansion of that connection with Baba. And I'm touched by, at this moment, I'm shocked, and I will miss not seeing. I wasn't connected with her when she was dealing with her mother's dementia. I was out of touch when she was in Asheville and dealing with cancer and all that, externally. But internally, that connection, I am so aware that she is still very present and alive with that love of Baba, that intense love of Baba, that nothing, body being present or absent, can change that the core of her being, it seemed. Well, and I just wanted to share that because it just takes my breath away. It really does. The one thing I wanted to share for myself was I came up on Facebook about Baba minor incarnations, and Eric saying how Baba said he is always present physically in the world somewhere, helping someone or doing some. And I've had 3 experiences of that as a taxi driver, an air conditioner repairman, but the one I wanted to share. And after those 2 experiences, I had said, Baba, next time you're going to do this, please let me know it's you. Because I always knew afterwards, as soon as he was gone, I was, gosh, this was, and after having that prayer, it so happened that Elena was in the hospital for almost a week, and Zeke had to be there with her. So they were there 4 or 5 days, I guess it was. And this may have been at the time of the Northeast Gathering in October when Israel was attacked that same weekend. But in any event, she was being released. Elena was being released and sent home, and they were waiting all day long for the amulet to take them home. And finally, I get a call from Zeke that an amulet called up and was coming and picking her up, and they'd be home soon. Now, this amulet, it turned out, I found this out later, just it doesn't happen. They put out the word and people get assigned. These people from this little company heard about Elena and didn't know, ask about her. They said, we want to take them. We want to take her. She'd been waiting all day. So the amulet arrives here. A young guy and a young woman, and they carried so lovingly. They brought Elena, carried up in the wheelchair, brought a stretcher, I guess it was, got her set up here. They went out. I had an exchange with this woman, and something in my heart, like, trembled a bit almost. But my mind was not connecting. And then I got down there, and before they left, the young man came over, and he shook my hand. I was going to shake the young woman's hand, and I could almost hear her saying, no, his is the hand you should shake. But I shook both hands. And they drove off, and almost and I'm saying, what is it about these two? And almost instantly I realized that it was Baba and Mara, which is the only time that's ever happened. And it came back to me today because of this conversation about Baba always being present, always active physically. That's what it says, Erich says in his book. But I've been feeling so, I wouldn't say disconnected from Baba, but I've been feeling so, for a while now, in my head, in my ego, in my consciousness of what I need to do, what my problem is, what my issue is, what has to be done now, what can be done later, when will I do this? Baba wants me to do that. When will I be able to do? And I've been feeling so far from Baba in the sense of not entrusting to him and not opening my heart to hear his guidance, or to feel his guidance, or to just allow his guidance to work through me. And it reminded me of those three incidents, and especially of the ambulance that came to the hospital unbidden to pick up Elena and Zeke and get them home when no one else was showing up. And that love is always there, Baba's love and attention. My mind can go through this, that, oh, I'm far from him now, and I'm not. Baba's love is never far, and he is, if he's responsive like that, it's his gift. I must still have that connection, even if my mind is losing touch with the heart message at the moment. So hope that's not too circular, but that was the two things on my mind. Yeah.
Thank you, Tony, and I hope someone doesn't come and take you away,
People keep saying
The guys
that.
in the white coat.
Somebody threatened quiet, it kind of in a sneaky way threatened me. I won't tell the story, but he was a fan of our president, and we got into something on Facebook out of left field, someone I hardly knew, and I said, I think this conversation's at an end. And he said, I agree, and I hope you don't get caught up in one of our president's airplanes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've had little threats. I mean,
Oh God.
Baba plays,
Yeah.
if I die, I die, but I don't want to suffer.
Well, let's see. I guess I don't see anybody else for the moment. I'll share something, a turning point in my life. It might be a little bit elaborate, but I grew up in the Northwest in Washington State. I had a very idyllic childhood. Then I went to college in New York City, and that was a veritable shock. It was just a whole different way of life. And my early years in college, at a certain point, I became obsessed with having to know the purpose of life, not just some inherited belief or what someone else's belief, but I knew I had to get it experientially. And my buddies, we all got obsessed with this. And then in January of '68, I heard of Baba, and well, I should say that in my college days, I was in a real mental turmoil. I was like worried about what I was going to do with my life, agonized on what I was going to do with my life, and I wasn't getting a clue. I was very nostalgic about my past. I was regretful of the many selfish things I had done in my college days. And then the Vietnam War was going on, and there was no way I was going to be a part of that. So my mind was like an overcast sky. It got darker and darker, you might say. And then I heard of Baba, and I was lifted out of, that's another whole experience. I was lifted out of that state into a kind of heavenly honeymoon that went on for months. And then I crash landed again back in my life, into my mental turmoil, except that now I had at least the experience of the purpose of life. But I was still struggling with, with the state that I was in, this mental kind of overcast sky. And then one day, I think Baba was still at Merazad, he conveyed to me these words, and this became the blueprint of my life. Baba said, in every moment, there's always something loving that can be done. Basically, with the implication, just look around. In every moment, there's always something loving that can be done. But then Baba kind of followed up with, how much are you in the present moment? And I looked at, this is New York City, where people are kind of running from the past into the arms of the future, and they just kind of spot check the present. I went through my life, and the conclusion I came to is I was about 10% in the present moment. And Baba's basically saying, how are you going to be able to love in the present moment if you're only 10% of you is there? So Baba then trained me how to, in various ways, over decades, how to stay in the present moment. So I will share a little of that. And this is how he did it. Like, say I was agonizing out the future or anxious about my future. Baba said, give me the anxiety and agony you feel about the future. Give that to me in the present. And then you will stay in the present. Rather than going energetically in the future, pull the energy back and give how you feel about the future to me in the present. And that way you're staying in the present. You're anchoring yourself in the present. And as far as the past, the nostalgia about my childhood, because I had a really great heavenly time in childhood, give the nostalgia to me in the present. Don't go energetically to the past. Stay, give me the nostalgia. And then as far as my, the selfishness of my college days, give me the anxiety or regret or shame, give that to me now in the present. So in that way, instead of going back and reliving all of that stuff, take the feeling that it gives you and give it to me in the present. And so, over decades, my energy, which was spread out onto the past and the present, was kind of pulled in. I mean, like when you're in your childhood, all your energy is in the present. You haven't got much of a future, you haven't got much of a past. And so as children, we kind of lived in a timeless, expansive present. So Baba kind of set out to work with me on that. So that line that Baba gave, and how he kind of followed through with it, that You know, in every moment, there's always something loving that can be done. And to try to get enough into the moment so you can actually see what love is prompting to have done. So that was major turn in my life. Anyone else? What time is it? Oh, it's a little bit. No, I mean, some of these people just know transformative moments. I just. Oh, let's go. Yeah, that's right, Gabriella. You're the responsible for this topic. But let's go with and Ronnie has already done. Diane, go for it.
No, I'd actually like to go after Gabby, because she was brilliant enough with this topic.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Jeff kind of shifted my original thought, but I like what he did with it, and it's been an amazing meeting. I was just originally, I just want to say, originally, I was like, so many moments these days as a 67-year-old that I go, oh my God, I would have done that so differently 10 years ago. Or I notice, it's like I see how Baba has changed me, has transformed me in action in the world, just so many ways. An example, I came back from the Baba Center yesterday and I was like all fired up. I'd heard Debbie had gone to Baba, and we were going to sing at our dear friend Carol Gunn's memorial today, a group of us. And we weren't prepared. We had prepared, but we hadn't had a chance for another rehearsal. And I thought Debbie would have wanted us to be rehearsed. And I had this strong experience, that we need to meet a half hour before the memorial. And so as soon as I got home with all my fire, I started calling everybody. And you know what? People were not into it. And I realized I had to just immediately let go of that idea. And I know in the past, I wouldn't have. I mean, in many years before, probably, I would have been all about, this is my idea. I felt Bob gave it to me through Debbie and blah, 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 blah. They're not listening to me. I'm not part of this group. Why don't they? But whatever, I don't know. It would have been a whole Megillah. So that didn't happen. And I let go. And then when we got there today, the strange thing was we were all right. And just, the program went along and we all realized when it was over, none of us felt we should do it. We all just looked at each other and thumbs down, to each other, as a group. We're not going to sing it at all because Baba it wasn't right to do it. And we all let it go. And I just see myself and my shifts and ability to let go of things, and all of our abilities to go with the flow and to listen to the moment and Baba's voice at that moment. So I see that, not that I was being transformed, that I have been transformed.
Yeah, I can see that.
Gabriella, can I ask you something? Was that Carol Gunn? She passed away?
She did.
Really?
Yeah, a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Wow. Cancer? Was it cancer?
I think yes. No.
No. She fell and then she, I think, had a stroke after she fell, but she had been declining with some form of dementia or Alzheimer's. I don't know. John took care of her. And although I'm in the Chapel Hill group with Gabriella, I was unaware that she had been declining like that, but she was very affected by, it looked like arthritis, very, very fragile.
Mm-hmm.
But that was another shock. I mean, there have been so many, and Debbie was another one. I didn't realize I knew she had been in the hospital and had almost died maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, she was such an amazing person. and she was the one who taught me the Gujarati arti in Gujarati, and directed the Sahavas, the singing Sahavas in Asheville. So there are many people all over the state of North Carolina, I'm sure in India and everywhere, who adored Debbie, and she was a great emanation of Baba's love, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're saying goodbye to many dear.
I was just going to finish about that I'm so grateful to Baba, because I don't even recognize the me I am today versus what I once was. I mean, obviously there's a lot of threads he's still working on, but you know, I don't even know how he does it. It's just amazing how he's, I feel really, really transformed and grateful for it.
I was looking for a quote, but I've not been able to find it, unfortunately.
I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who just filled in. I had meant to ask about Carol Gunn. She's Elena's aunt. Elena Mara Gunn. And we had heard she passed and knew nothing about it. And thank you for filling that in. Thank you, Jay Baba.
Apparently it happened really fast, so she really didn't have any pain. It was quite a blessing. She could be at home right up to the very end.
And her son happened to be there that weekend.
Yeah.
So that it was really fortunate. And John happened to be home as well. So they were all together. So I think it happened, the fall, I think, was on a Saturday, and she passed away the next day. Something like that. And we haven't heard anything about memorials yet. So we're waiting to hear about that one, and also about Debbie's as well.
Anyone else? I know we got Ron. We'll end with Ron, but anyone else?
Diane had something.
Ah.
Hi.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I hope I'm going to try not to be all over the place. I am someone who, before I came to Baba, it was all in my head, not in my heart. And that changed with Baba, and my transformation has been daily and multiple times daily. And Gabby, I really could relate when you said you can't even recognize yourself. I mean, I will say that, and my wife will say that probably the last person they ever thought, or I ever thought, would be talking about God and showing up in squares numerous times a day to talk and hear about God. I haven't not a clue how this happened, except for attributing it to Baba, because when I think about all the heartaches before, I forgot who talked about how great heartaches were. They got me to where I am today. And it's in looking at the rear view mirror. A lot of times you can't understand it in the present because so much is being brought up, that you need a certain distance to have an understanding of why something happened. And my wife has a story to share now too.
So I think the one thing about aging that's so interesting is that when you look back at all the pain and suffering and realize where it placed you in your life, which is just, it changed your life. I had so many moments like that. But one I remember, and it's a little bit light, but it's also I had just come out as a gay woman. And in those days, you were a feminist, and, you know, we were really not with like the gay community. We were with the gay women. It was very separatist and very different than it is now. And I went to a women's dance in Santa Monica, and I had never been to one before. And in my mind, I thought that I'll be wearing dresses like when you go to prom. And I couldn't even picture it. Anyway, I got not dressed like that, because I don't dress like that, but I got dressed and I go to this event, and my heart is going, and I see a woman that looks attractive to me, and I go up to her. She was sitting down, and I said to her, "Do you want to dance?" And she said, "I would like to," but her leg was broken or something. She had a cast on. I didn't notice the crutches on the side or anything. I was so anxious, and I'm a detail person and a healing perfectionist. So I noticed these things. The second woman I asked to dance told me that her girlfriend was in the bathroom and she'd be right back. So after I got those two, I said, "I'm out of here." And I leave and I go to my car, and I didn't have Bubba, but I put down the mirror in my automobile and
The visor.
the visor, and I looked into the mirror crying. And I said to myself, "What can I do?" And I thought it was the wind, or I didn't realize it was Bubba until, but he told me to breathe, to relax, and to let go. And those three words, still to this day, when I say them, the profound feeling I have inside, it's like I've never taken a breath before. That's how deep the breath will go into my core. So, and I was how old? I was like 29 years old.
A little older than that. Because the irony here is, I think I was at that same dance, going through the same sort of non-connection. But then fast forward to 1980, 88, I think it is, and we're at the same dance, but this time we connected. And that was 37 years ago. So we didn't understand that heartbreak that we both were feeling at that time, but we needed it to feel it to get to the next step, to the next step, the next step.
So Terry, when did you first hear of Baba?
So our friend Seppi, we would always go, Seppi and her Baba. Seppi's a Brit with the most exquisite
accent.
It's just so beautiful. She was an actress, so there's just something about her presentation that it's gorgeous. Anyway, she lived near us. Our kids went to preschool together. What?
Short story.
Short story. And we kind of felt like sisters to each other. I can't really explain it. And one day she came they went back to England, and she came and visited with the family. And she handed me a stack of Bubba photos, and she said, "Which one do you like?" And we used to say, "Seppi and her Bubba, Seppi and her Bubba." And I'm looking at this photo. It had trees, and I'm into that, and flowers. And I put it on the table, and I thought nothing of it until it really talked to me, and it told me to get a frame. And the frame is literally in metal with the hearts like it is in Mirabad. It's amazing. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I was a big Wiccan woman with all these goddesses that still exist in the house, not one man. You can see behind me all the girls. And now I have a man in a frame on my table, and it's not my father or my father-in-law. And I said, I better get on the computer and figure out who this dude is, really. And that was it. I never came back again. And then I woke up and I said, I have to go to India. One day to Diane, thinking she'll never go with me. It's not on her bucket list at all. And she said, "I'm not letting you go without me." And that's when he grabbed her. So
2012, 2013. We're puppies.
Yeah. No, you got plenty of background. You knew what he was fishing for. Hey, so it's getting a little late. Ron, I've got one quote that I'll read, but Ron, you go ahead, and then we'll have a few moments of silence in a bit. Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned in the thing that you wrote up, Jeff, about coming to Baba as being one of these transformative experiences. And I have to say, I think you're right about that. But as I was thinking about it, mine is a twofold. and so I gave it some thought. I know there were these two different experiences that were about that. And then I also thought that I prefer approach Baba, the word approach rather than come to, because
Yeah.
Baba uses that word approach me, what he talks about.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I would have to say in 1970, Baba approached me, and he did it for like a whole year. But then in 71, that's when I started to approach Baba. He said, "It's your turn." So I've been doing that till today, up to today.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to offer up.
I remember, I don't know if this is like exactly pertinent, but Adi used to say, Baba will, feed you. I mean, he'll prepare the food, he'll spoon feed you, but don't expect him to swallow for you. Yeah. So I'm going to read a rare quote here. Wow, I hope oh, darn, what happened here? Oh, here. I'm going to read because we stumbled, this topic came up here. This is Erich in this new book. So, and this is what Erich says. You see, everything is there within us. Our mind and heart can elevate us, but again, we can revert to our nasty lower self. We don't know the impressions, the flow of energy that pours out of us because we can't see it. The more we lose ourself and our limitedness, the more we expand. It is the mind that creates exclusiveness and expectations. When the mind works, there are clashes. With the heart, there is no difference. Expectation is the shit of the mind. What the mind needs is to be purged of expectations. And as hard as it may be to understand this, the enema for the mind are the tragedies we have to face. All the calamities and hardships we find ourselves facing in life act as enemas to purge us of our expectations. This is what Baba has told us. Only by holding to his feet, his form, his being, can you begin to imbibe the impressions of the impressionlessness. And that is the only way that these impressions can be uprooted. Kind of an intense message, folks.
Jeff, can you repeat that last line?
Oh my God.
The short subclause.
I may have lost it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I put my phone down. I was reading that from this little thing on the. So let's have a few moments of silence, and then maybe, I don't know, sometimes Goer has something up her sleeve to end, okay?
Jeff, can I just say something?
Yeah.
We're reading we're the Barkers, Chris Barker, he has a reading group of the book. Is that Erich's book, the new book that Divana wrote?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're reading that on Tuesday evenings. I don't know if you would like ever to join us. It's a wonderful group.
Yeah, I wish I had more time. Time is a thing I don't have much of.
Yeah.
But it would be nice. What day?
It's Tuesday evenings at 6:30.
Okay, I'll
Or
keep that in mind.
if you're up late, you can join Doug Ross's group, which is at 9 p.m. Our time, Eastern Standard, 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay.
But most East Coasters, there are a few of us who join that group.
Okay.
And
Okay,
Rich,
let's have a.
If you want that quote, you can just look up shit in the index.
Okay.
Or enema.
Yeah.
No, never mind. I'm sorry. It was not funny.
Yeah, enema. It was enema. Okay, let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba. Thank you all for sharing and being bold enough to share. Okay, or you have something there?
Yeah, I have a short quote. Yes, Jeff. Baba says, anytime a person's thoughts turn truly to me, I am truly with them. Jai Baba.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. Anyway, let's see if there's anything. I might have to cancel next week, and I gotta have a tooth extracted. And I have to get up early on Monday morning, and I'm gonna think about it.
Well, we know the tooth fairy,
Yeah,
so we can help out there, maybe.
yeah. I'll ponder it. I'll let you know. But I think if I'm up late and then I have to get up at 6 in the morning, I mean, not only 6 in the morning, be ready to move at 6 in the morning may not be that may be a bit much.
Can we have Marta substitute for Nasreen to give us our goodbye send-off?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
not exactly, but I have a closing quote. I'm not going to be Nasreen, but thank you, Richard. That closing quote is from Rumi. Remembrance is the noose of union with the beloved. Remembrance is the noose of union with the beloved. Be silent, for madness has begun to boil. Jai Baba.
Oh yeah. Hey, and here's is what I can remember of a quote. This is from Rumi, because we have had just day before yesterday 3 close Baba lovers passed on, and then Carol Gunn passed on, and a number of people lately. So this is Rumi, as I can remember it. When they carry me to the grave, don't say he's gone, he's gone. Dying has nothing to do with going away. When the sun comes up in the morning, when the sun goes down in the morning, it'll come up in brightness tomorrow. Death is only a veil over reunion with God. When your mouth closes on this side, it opens on that side with a shout of triumph that echoes in the placeless air. When your mouth closes on this side, it opens on that side with a shout of triumph that echoes in the placeless air.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Where can you go? You get to get some fresh air finally. Non-polluted air. But I should get you the actual words. I was trying to find it and I couldn't. Anyway, you folks have a nice week, and let's see who there's Emmy there. There's Mayor Saga. We saw him a little bit. Christina, I've been seeing your brother and hanging out with him over the last few days.
Yeah, he's been excited to
and
be there.
Vance.
Yeah, with Lance. Yeah.
Lance and
Yeah.
And we got Peter Solomasi up there. Just rattling around down there in Florida. Yeah. Okay, and Denise, good that you got, you're still hanging in there. Can't slip away yet. Anyway, all right, much love. Jai Baba.
Thank you, Jeff. Jai Baba.
And Jai Seema, thank you.
Hey, Baba.
Good night, all. Thanks, Jasima. Thanks, Jeff.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.